Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Hope we meet you well. Indeed, there is optimism in the air, considering as how NLC, TUC have suspended the nationwide strike that they called. Okay, we'll look at that. Matters arising, how we arrived there, the conditionalities, if any, for Labour TUC to suspend the strike. And let me quickly tell you about our guests. In our Abuja studio, we have Kassim Afegbua. Kassim Afegbua is a media consultant, is a member of APC. Indeed, was a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, now defunct, and a gubernatorial aspirant. A fine morning to you, Kassim.
Yeah, good morning. Yes.
In studio here, we have Comrade Ayodele Adewale. Comrade Adewale is well, he's a public affairs commentator and he's a no stalwart. Good morning to you, sir. Okay, now, kicking off, shall we say, let me start off with you, if I may, Kassim. How, well, all's well that ends well, is that the way to put it? Because it was going to be quite punitive on a lot of things on a national level if that strike had gone on. But fortunately, Labour, NLC and TUC has seen fit to suspend it. Give me your thoughts, your overview. This was as a result of the National Security Advisor wading into the situation we hear.
Well, thank you very much, Yori. I think Labour should talk to itself. It's about time they see the bigger picture of the wellness of the Nigerian Federation in terms of their own activities, talking about strike and lack of strike. This administration is barely 6 months old. If I tell you the number of strikes Labour have embarked on, and strike and strike and strike again. Even the deadlines, you know, pressurizing the system and all of that. We have come to the point that we should begin to address our minds to those things that will help and enrich our economic well-being, rather than resorting to strike, particularly, you know, for a government that cherishes dialogue, conversation, interaction, and all of that. In those days when Labour goes on strike, you may excuse the government of those days who don't have time to sit down to dialogue and all that. Then resorting to strike would be a last option or the first option, as it were then. But now you have a government in place that is very interactive, that is very conversational, that loves dialogue. What is this whole idea of strike, 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 strike? The recent one that was called off yesterday night was needless. I think Labour is just trying to flaunt its own ego, trying to, you know, just make the point that they can cripple government, they can hold down government and punish Nigerians for the simple fact that his president was manhandled in Owerri. And can I tell you the curious facts? Owerri was the center of attraction. Abuja federal employees are the ones suffering the pains, and some other places where the strike went on. Yesterday in Owerri, in Imo State, the workers there went to pay a congratulatory visit to the governor-elect, who is also the governor of the state, Hope Uzodinma, you know, about the outcome of the elections. And so Labour went to Owerri to protest, according to them. Their president got manhandled, which was a very bad, we shouldn't settle issues by scalpel and cordials. But it's, again, you brought your strike to the seat of government just to make the point that, yes, you have a president and that you can hold government down and all of that. I think that is economic sabotage. And also, we read in the paper that they put off power supply in Imo State for about 2 weeks before, before the elections and all of that. What is the meaning of that? Who bears the brunt of all of this? You have forgotten that you have children as workers, and some of your children or wife or relatives may be in the hospital, and you put up electricity, you don't want to give them light. At the end of the day, they will also suffer the consequences of that action. And you have forgotten that when government does not have a way out, they will still plow their hands into the resources that should be used to cater for workers to buy diesel and fuel to power the business of government. They won't say because you are put off like that, they won't run diesel. They will run diesel with the same money you are complaining that is not available to pay minimum wage and all of that. And so labor is just like shooting itself in the foot. And I don't know why this attraction for strike. For all intents and purposes, with due respect and the high sense of responsibility, I think labor is becoming lawless. That's just the truth. I don't want to believe that they are not conversant with the present economic situations we are going through. They are compounding it, because when you don't work, when you down tools, you don't work. How do you want government to generate resources, revenue, and all of that, and even create the stable environment for them to pursue their policy implementation?
Well,
and so
let me come back to you, Kassim, but at least we want us to be thankful that Labour has seen its way to, at least it hasn't been, obstinate. There was there was an intermediary effect, and they indeed were agreeable to all of that. They made a number of demands, and from newspaper reports, all of these demands was about justice from the point of view of Labour. Coming to you in studio, Comrade Adewale, it was about justice and about holding people accountable where, in Labour's view, they had gone beyond, they had crossed a line. All of that, and we hear that indeed they have been given assurances that some people have indeed been arrested and being processed, and that in the fullness of time, the results of the investigations will be made public. But Kassim was speaking there along the lines of holding people to ransom. A number of other commentators have made the comparison to, maybe rightly or wrongly, to the Israeli-Hamas affair, where all of Palestine is suffering as a result of Israelis' beef, and it is a lot more than beef with Palestine. And the point has been made that, look, this is in the nature of collective punishment. That probably Labour might be criticized for that. Look, whatever the issue was, it was the issue, and now you are having it addressed. But mightn't you have been a partner in progress and have seen that you can't really take a whole citizenry or a section thereof as a result of a grievance that you have?
Well, thank you for having me on your show once
pleasure.
again. And I will only say that a wise man once said that when two elephants fight, the grass will suffer. And the grass in this term is the Nigerian people. But I would commend the National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, for stepping in. And we've seen that his intervention have also helped Labour and to shelve their sword. And I also thank Labour for downing their agitation strongly and taking the path of peace and negotiation. And of course, the alleged perpetrator or perpetrators, as we have read, have been apprehended, and investigation have commenced to what had happened. Such incident must be totally condemned. Whatever agitation anybody has must be carried out within the framework of the rule of law.
And all commentators have said exactly what
within
you
the
have
rule
said.
of law, regardless
Even the
of,
governor over in Imo State.
regardless of your position. Even in war, there is a rule of engagement. You don't veer off such rules. So these have provided Labour another opportunity to come to the drawing board, the negotiating table, to negotiate better working conditions for their members, and of course, in turn, will help to improve on the Nigerian economy. The government cannot work without its workers. The workers must also understand that they have to put in their best for nation in order to develop our climb And as a result, all Nigerians then plug in to develop according to their own individual strengths and peculiarities. I believe Nigeria is to gain more if all hands are on deck to support the administration. The administration can be said to be within its gestation period in order to firm up all its working structure. And you have also seen that the President of the Federal Republic, President Tinubu, have also introduced the KPI that you must show your key performance index in order for you to stay in office. And this becomes very good tool for us to move our system very fast. Everybody is in a competitive situation now to prove him or herself in order to work in harmonious system for our country's betterment.
Kassim, at the meeting in the NSA's office, the Minister of Labor and Employment, Simon Lalong, had also assured that it was a fruitful meeting and that it wasn't going to, that is, the whole matter of the strike overcast, even as this has been suspended, that whole overcast won't last very long, which goes back to the position of government. By the way, everybody, I don't think anybody has commended what happened. Even the president, has regretted what happened, and we've said it already that arrests have been made, investigations are ongoing, and results will be made public. But it's also useful, isn't it, that the Minister of Labor is even on board and says that this whole overcast of a strike is not going to last, because you said, Kassim, that this is a listening government, it's an engaging government, and very soon all of those issues will be resolved. Maybe one shouldn't be raking over old coals, but I suppose the issue is that labor is also a partner in progress. And there were, in the public space, there have been commentaries that NLC, Nigeria Labour Congress, is a separate entity for workers, and people, rightly or wrongly, were saying that some of their actions were beginning to make it look as if it was a partisan organization. Would you like to comment in that area?
Well, let me commend the National Security Advisor for his intervention, very timely, because he knew the implications of the strike action by labor. Let me also commend even governments, this government generally, for being able to engage labor on a number of issues, because issues of labor and government is that of constructive engagement and collective bargaining. We need to look at the issues to trade off. The characteristics of this government have been very, very commendable in terms of their interactive posture and nature. We have a very solid Minister for Information now who can also interrogate issues and communicate in language that we understand. When you have those kind of persons in a government, and the government also has these characteristics of sitting down on the round table to judge instead of war, then it helps, the psyche of those who are driving the wheel of progress to make the right decisions at the appropriate time and pursue them to their logical conclusion. That is why I complain about the issue of strike. You only resort to strike when you have a government that is adamant, a government that is not willing to enter into a discussion, or a government that's not willing to negotiate anything. So you resort to strike as the last option, but in this case, it appears that the IJ-led NLC is strike hungry. Every time a strike, every time one strike, every time this, every time that. For God's sake, this economy has suffered a lot of fluctuations. We need to move on. We need to address the issues and continue, and without stopping the wheel of progress, we continue to engage ourselves. You cannot kill the employer because you want to help the employee. That was a statement made by Abraham Lincoln. Those days, he said, you can't say because you want to help the case of the employee, you kill the employer. If you kill the employer, who answers to the employees? So labor must learn how to trade off. It's all about mediation. They must know what to give in and what to attract. In this present strike, why I say it was needless, it's just because the president of NLC was manhandled. And Labour should know that they are not alternate government. They are not alternative government in this country. They are not. They are a pressure group. They are a Labour union group that caters for the wishes and aspirations of workers. How many of Nigerians are workers in the first place? So those people who are private employers of Labour, those people who are also private individuals, entrepreneurs and all of that, suffer, untold hardship in the hands of strike that they have no connection with. So the point must be made that Labour in its action must gauge the pulse of the nation, look at the economic well-being of the country, and also pursue all these activities in an objective manner. You don't go to Imo State to go and say you want to protest when there are states in Nigeria that are not paying minimum wage of 30,000. Negotiated this, and this has been on for years. Heaven has not fallen. And so the point I'm making is that Labour must please put the interests of the country at heart. They shouldn't be looking at themselves because they are becoming part of the problem of the country. If you are killing the economy of the country, then you have no moral justification to be asking for improved pay. If you are killing the economy of the country, if revenue is not coming every day you strike, you do not know how much billions we lose as a country. If you go on strike per day, you know how much billions, yet you will turn around to say that you are asking for improved welfare services and all of that for your workers. So the point is, they must know that their action has multiplier effect on average Nigerian, home and abroad, anywhere, both in the remote villages and what have you. So please help us to talk to them. This government is a listening government. This government is interactive. This government is negotiating. This government is always calling them on the round table. The other time it was the minister. At another time it was the president himself. At another time it's now the national security advisor. This is an engaging government. And when you have a government that can communicate, that can listen to you and even follow due process without even weighing down its own agents of oppression on you, then you should give that government the benefit of the doubt to discuss issues on the table. Now because of the action that took place in Owerri, whether you like it or not, the people who voted Hope Uzodinma, some of them are workers. They are the same NLC members. You can't take away that from them. They have their inalienable right to vote. And Labour Party as a party, it has members who are not NLC members. So you have to separate between your partisan role as NLC and the partisan role of the Labour Party as a political party. You should know how to draw the thin line so that you don't conflict the activities of Labour Party and take that one and swallow that hook, line, and sinker as NLC executives. You also have to know that workers, they have the right to belong to any political party. It doesn't matter. You can champion the aspirations of Labour Party, but for God's sake, the fact that one of your candidate did not win presidential election is not enough for you to want to ground the country or cripple the country because you feel you want to make a point that you are NLC. We appreciate that you must fight for the wishes and aspirations of your workers. We appreciate that you must help to their living condition, their wages and all of that. Whatever you get at every point in time, grab that while you are still negotiating.
Let me pick that point up in studio here. The point that Kassim is making that, look, I don't know how you see it as well, because it has been a recurring decimal in the commentaries that Labour is a Congress. It's for all Nigerians. It should be non-partisan. I don't think Labour is going to admit that it is partisan, but that is, sometimes perception is everything. That's the way commentators have been seeing it. Where would you come in? Clearly, Kassim feels that they have flexed their power to call strike and that it isn't in the best. Do you think they have been too willing to reach for the strike button?
We must appreciate that governance is a continuous. And labor agitation has always been there for better living conditions, not only for its workers, but for all Nigerians. And in the verge of this struggle, Labour is also lucky. Nigerians, if I may use the word, blessed now to have a president that have gone through the struggle of agitating for better living condition and a country that works for all. And whatever agitation Labour brings to the table, the president understands, because he has grown through the ranks. He came from humble beginning to where God has placed him, and he's working also day and night to make sure that he leaves very good footprint in the sands of time for Nigeria's development. I understand the corner Labour is coming from, that the administration is new, so before older people bring in their own requests or their own demands, let Labour be first. But whatever Labour does as an executive, it is born out of the fact that they've met with their members, and that is the position of their members. Now, wisdom has to come to play. You must understand that the administration is new. The administration also needs to firm up its working structure. You are going to need time for that. I would have thought that Labour...
That's why people are saying that Labour is, quote unquote, intentionally sabotaging the efforts of this administration.
I would not want us to
go that far.
Throw the word frustrating or sabotaging the administration. It's just a technique. But again, they should have used wisdom, like I said. The wisdom in engaging should have been, oh, you're welcome as an administration. Labour has this agitation that was there before you came, right? Now, Nigerians are facing this condition that engulf all of us as Nigerians. We will give you this time, right? The time ordinarily should be within the span of, say, 6 months, 10 months, for you to put your structures right.
So
if you need some assistance, Labour can also support you in putting these structures right so that we can achieve this milestone. Then you put timelines.
So that is the approach that you would have expected.
That is the approach I would have expected Labour to key in first. Right?
Because, you know, Labour kicked off with strikes virtually from day one after the president had announced subsidy is gone. You know, virtually the next day there were, you know, drums of war began to sound. And this is where people are saying that, was Labour actually, what side was it playing on? After all, there's only one side when it comes to the well-being of all Nigerians. There's nothing that this administration wants that Labour itself doesn't want ordinarily, because it's to improve things. So that's where Labour, the methodology that you have outlined, it would have been lovely if they had approached it from that point of view, but as it is, they didn't. Kassim, do you also subscribe to the idea that, you know, Labour had a number of options before, God knows what the advice was, that it chose the option that we have had, where we've had a call for a strike a few times in this administration that you've pointed out and that everybody knows is a very young administration and is still is still going through the throes of putting its house in order, and the confusion of a nationwide strike, there's no way that can be helpful. So that is where perhaps people, rightly or wrongly, would have seen Labour as not working on side. And Labour doesn't have to be, is not expected to be partisan. People are now alleging that, how do you want me to think anything else, looking at all the indices that we've had? Do you think it was a mistake of the head and not of the heart?
Well, you see, the point must be made very clearly, Yori, that you can call for strike when every other discussion has broken down, when there is no longer room for interaction, engagement, negotiation, and bargaining on the issues that you are conversing. Nobody is saying NLC should not, agitate for Nigerian workers. But we are saying that in doing that, you must also factor in the interests of other Nigerians who are not captured in the civil service or in the other state service or civil service of the state or of the country or federal civil service. The point is there are private employers of labor who don't belong to Nigerian Labour Congress. There are other persons who are pursuing their own legitimate aspirations on a daily basis to earn a living without necessarily being members of any union. So in taking your decision, is the government willing to sit down on a round table for you to discuss? Even as we speak with, what do you call them, Israeli and Gaza crisis and Palestinian crisis, they are still going to end on the table, on a round table, whether at the World United Nations or whatever, or at any other platform, whether Middle East round table. They are still going to sit down and look at the issues and take a far-reaching decision that to help. This is not the first time Israel is fighting Gaza, for example, but they've always ended up on the table to discuss. So when you have a government that is willing to discuss, that is engaging, that is interactive, you don't resort to strike, and because you are killing the economy for which you are making case that your workers should be, should be encouraged or should be helped with increased salaries, increased working conditions, better working conditions, and all of that. But when you kill the economy, how do you expect government to earn resources? Any day you go on strike, if you calculate the loss to the country, it runs into billions. That is the truth. Then we're complaining that there's no money. The NSA told us that they inherited a bankrupt government and all of that, and Nigerians are just looking. So if this present government is trying to make sure that they're able to patch up all the leakages and all of that, and labor is now compounded that by strike today, strike tomorrow, then we're all in trouble. So my point is, labor will complain about one thing, but if you look at some of the crises we are talking about in the country, some of them are generated by civil servants, whether you like it or not. The subsidy removal we are talking about, the people who are generating memos in their ministries, are they you and me? They are civil servants. They generate memo and all that, give to subsidy scammers and all of that. They collect money, they collect their own returns. You now see people, members of Nupeng or executive of Nupeng, for example, going about with bodyguards, 12 bodyguards, 13 bodyguards, and this and all of that. Yet we complain that politicians are carrying bodyguards or are carrying police all over the place and all of that. So what are we talking about? It's a situation of contradiction.